Here you go. Okay. Those aren't the good ones.
Okay, let's call the Tuesday, December 26th Andover City Council meeting to order. We'll start off with a roll call to my left.
Troy Tabor, council member.
Sherry Geisler, council member.
Clark C.R. Nelson, council member.
Ben Lawrence, Mayor.
Chris Estes, council member.
Greg Schneider, council member.
Mike Keller, police chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Mike Roosevelt, fire marshal.
Jennifer McCausland, Assistant City Administrator.
JT Klaus, city attorney.
Rick Lanzer, assistant director of public works.
Susan Renner, city clerk.
Mark Detter, city administrator.
Item number 3 is invocation. Chris, would you be so kind as to help us out there?
I would be honored. We will all bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for blessing our community. Thank you for all the great talent and skill that we have in this room tonight. And thank you for giving us such a wonderful community blessed with so many benefits. We pray tonight that we will make good decisions to keep our citizens safe and able to grow Andover to what it can become. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You would stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5 is the public forum. I will remind the council that when it comes to it, we are removing item 9 from the agenda. We need to. So if you showed up and wanted to speak on item 9, we'll still hear from you, but during the public comment section. And so we are here in public comments. Does anybody like to speak? There being none, I will close the public forum and move on to the acceptance of the agenda. I do not see anything additional here this evening. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the agenda with the change of removing item 9.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by CR to accept the agenda as modified. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, that is the consent agenda. Item 7.1 through 7.18.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to point out one piece of clarification based on a call I got today. Item 7.15 is requesting $5,000 award. If that was unclear in any way in the memo, I do want to clear that up. It was requesting just the $5,000 for that award.
I believe that's the way it read, didn't it?
That's what I
Thank
Just
you.
clarifying.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Troy to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8. 159th Street improvements.
Mr. Mayor, Jeff Lackey from Trans Systems is here to present the preliminary engineering concept, our agreement, and he will also kind of go over what the goal of this project is and kind of some of the stuff we're looking at. So I appreciate him coming out here in the cold tonight.
All right, thanks, Mark, and happy holidays to the council as well. Again, I'm Jeff Lackey, here to discuss and request approval for our preliminary engineering agreement for 159th Street widening project between Central and the KTA Bridge. As you'll recall, and this is a little bit difficult to see, currently the 159th Street Bridge is under planned development currently. We're under contract with the city to perform those services. going south from that bridge project down to Central is what we're here seeking approval for tonight. And that project would be to widen 159th Street to a 3-lane section, similar to what was recently done from the bridge north up to 21st Street. So just to give you kind of a little bit of background on the bridge project that's ongoing right now, we're at about a 40% plan level. Those plans have been submitted to the agencies, KDOT and the KTA. That bridge will be widened when it opens to a 3-lane section, but it's actually being designed and built for a 4-lane section for the future. These bridges are designed to last 50 years or longer, so we want to make sure it's wide enough to accommodate future traffic if it's warranted that far out. It is a WAMPO project using federal funds, so it's an 80% federal funded project, and it's in the 2019 fiscal year. So as you recall, fiscal year is basically from October to September. So the earliest that project can be let for bidding is October of 2018. And that's our current schedule at this point. We're on schedule to do that, so we're anticipating getting that project going at the end of 2018. We had an opportunity here. This section to the south has been talked about for a while. We've got an opportunity for some cost savings and construction if this project gets built at the same time as the bridge. And so, as I mentioned earlier, what we're here for tonight, that would be a 3-lane section from Central to the bridge, constructed simultaneously with the 159th Street Bridge project, and we'd recognize cost savings by combining the two and taking advantage of smaller transitions and mobilization charges from contractors and such. Just a preliminary concept sketch. Obviously, we haven't started in design on this, but we're anticipating a 10-foot pathway on the east side and a sidewalk on the west side of the road, in addition to the 3-lane curb and gutter and storm sewer section. We would not get into any intersection pavement improvements at Central. We'd tie into the north side there, but essentially that would be the section. And so what's in this scope of services that we're here for approval tonight on is the pretty typical engineering contract, topographic surveying, utility coordination design with both public and private utilities, right-of-way legal exhibits and staking of new right-of-ways where they're required. There'll be a public meeting as a part of the project, and then we get into the roadway design side. Not shown on that picture before is we're going to be connecting that path from the bridge north up to 13th Street, and so there will be a connected pathway, 10-foot bike path from 21st Street all the way down to Central. So that section will be connected as a part of this project, and then there will be some signal modifications at 13th to allow pedestrians to get across there where it's not, that signal won't accommodate it today. And then we'll develop construction cost estimates and get the project ready for bidding. So our financial consideration tonight with the project is our design fee and the contract amount of $135,182.51. Are there any questions I can answer tonight?
I have one. Will you be considering the poor sight of view, that bridge? Is there any, are you going to take any engineering looks at, I guess, improving the sight line of that bridge? You know, you come up and visibility is very poor.
Yeah, it should improve some with the bridge project. That's one of the things we're looking at. It won't be completely desirable by the time we're done with it in terms of just being a flat and being able to see.
But you're looking at in your
yes,
your
that's all part of the engineering design.
Good question.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did I always cut off the, go ahead.
Well, no, just to add on to that, I think adding that 3-lane section to the south will also help with the sight distance being as short as it is. If you've got cars that are turning to the south, now they can get over in their own turn lane and you won't have that rear end collision possibility.
Right.
Go ahead, Mark.
I just wanted to make clear that the federal funds, the KTA funds, are all on the bridge. We're responsible from beyond the bridge to Central. So, but WAMPO did ask it to be added into the 2040 plan because it's a significant road. I think Troy could expound
Regionally
upon.
significant road. Yeah, that's correct. It's part of the WAMPO long-term plan now.
Well, I still contend this is the right thing to do. If we're going to go to the trouble of rebuilding the bridge, we need to finish the road.
Absolutely.
whether that's on our dime or not, but
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement for professional services with Trans Systems for preliminary engineering for the 159th Street and Central Street Improvement Project in the amount of $135,182.51.
Second?
All right, motion by Sherry and second by Chris to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 9, I guess we removed that, or do we more or less tabled it? Do I need official motion at this time to table it?
I would defer to the city attorney on that.
Probably preferable.
I don't think, since it's been removed from the agenda, that it needs to officially be tabled, and we don't know exactly when it's coming back, so I don't think you need to take any action unless you desire to do so.
Item number 10. Before you is the revised pit bull ordinance. I know we've discussed this several times, many times actually in the last couple of years. Pursuant to our last conversation about this, council, here's a cleaned up version, I guess, so to speak. I referred to our city attorney to explain the nuances, if there are any, of the proposed changes to this ordinance.
May take it. Mr. Mayor, as you already stated, this currently our ordinance prohibits pit bulls from being in the city. That ordinance has been in existence since at least 2002, if not before that. This doesn't change that. What this ordinance has done is cleaned up a few things and basically narrowed down into the three largest things. Number one, it defines the seizure and impoundment procedures. Our current ordinance does not. It's left it up into the discretion of the officer, and different officers handle them differently. This defines what that impoundment procedure is. To be impounded, an animal would first of all have to be determined to be a pit bull, and then if it's caught running at large or it attacks another animal or a human being, it could be seized immediately. If not, then it's left with the owner, and they're given 3 days to remove the animal from the city limits or face charges. None of that was spelled out in the previous ordinance, so it makes it clearer on the procedures on how they'll be handled. The second thing it does is it places the final determination for the disposition of any animal determined to be a pit bull on the hands of the judge and not the officers. In the past, it's always been a hearing officer or a police officer that's had to do this. Now they'll go in front of a judge. And the third thing this proposal does is increase some of the penalties, but they've increased the maximum penalties only. The minimum is still $500 fine. That's what the current ordinance is. The new one increased the maximum, which used to be $1,000. It increased it to $2,500 for a fine. It increased the jail time from 30 days to up to a year in jail. Basically, it just follows what the definition of a misdemeanor is for a penalty. Be happy to answer any questions or clarify anything else for you.
I guess I have a question, and what I had said earlier is the one that you addressed. Another one was the proper definition of a pit bull. And the way that I read your definition, it says that any dog that predominantly has the breed of a bull terrier, and it goes on to say any other breed in which any of its lineage of any American pit bull terrier. I don't know if that means 1%. I don't know if that's 49%. I'm assuming that means that one of the parties to the municipal court case would have to prove that the dog in question would have 0% lineage of an American pit bull, which would be 1% or less. And if it were more than that, they would be convicted. or the dog would qualify under the definition of pit bull.
Is that a question, sir?
It is.
You want to take that?
Well, there's two elements here, and I think this is the uniqueness of this ordinance. The first is instructions to the officer is what constitutes a pit bull. And the court cases were relatively clear that this particular characteristics, 8 characteristics for identifying a pit bull for purposes of the officer, were a legal method of probable cause. If you're asking me what percentage of pit bull is being allowed, I think the answer to that is any percentage of pit bull terrier. Now keep in mind, to even be suspicious, and there's a somewhat famous case in this regard from the state of Ohio, which I believe bans pit bulls if it looks like a pit bull and barks like a pit bull and whatnot. That's the first test. So to even have probable cause under this ordinance and to be subject to citation and the 3-day notice, whether or not it has a percentage of pit bull terrier is going to be irrelevant. It's going to be whether or not it looks like a pit bull. I think you are correct that if there is such a thing for DNA testing for animals, that it would be an absolute defense to this ordinance if you could show the DNA lineage shows no portion of these breeds. But I believe that if it fits the 8 characteristics of a pit bull, which have been court tested, and it then tests as having any percentage of pit bull lineage, it is a pit bull under this ordinance.
No, I did read the definition earlier somewhat carefully, and I commend you on the analysis and drafting of the ordinance. I just wanted to make sure, to the extent that we can avoid any ambiguities on this definition, the better off we're all going to be. And I appreciate your comment about making this not determinable simply by an opinion of a police officer that I just don't think is right. And you've done a nice job of taking care of that issue. So I have no further questions.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify something if I could. Wasn't the characteristics, there are 8 of them, but it's like maybe 5? Doesn't it have to be like 5 of the 8?
What the ordinance does is clarify or define the 8 characteristics common of a pit bull and requires that the officer see or observe 5 of those 8 to establish probable cause before someone would be cited. That's where those 5 of the 8 come into play.
Okay.
Probable cause to issue a citation. The ultimate final determination or disposition of the case and the animal would rest in the hands of the judge at court.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I will tell you, somewhat spearheading this this drive and this band, I think the sheer lack of anybody here in opposition tonight, excuse me, speaks volumes. I know there was an online petition. I know we've had recent cases that caused a lot of grief and attention. But I'm telling you, the people in this community agree with this ordinance. They like this ordinance, and they want this ordinance. And this cleans it up, makes it effective, does everything that we'd like it to do, and I would appreciate your support in voting for this tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Chris.
I fully agree, and I have happily served the community here for 5 years and have had strong support that the community is here first and foremost is for the safety of the citizens, and that safety is exactly why we're here cleaning this ordinance up. making it better for those who do own non-pit bull dogs to easily show that, and for everyone to walk safely in our community. So I would like to move that we repeal and amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-311 of the Code of the City of Andover, Kansas, which contains provisions prohibiting the keeping, harboring, or owning of pit bull dogs with certain exceptions within the city.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Greg to approve this ordinance. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 11, Redbud Trail. Mark, are you giving this presentation this evening?
I'll just briefly say the adjustment essentially was to provide a little bit more cover and what is a shade structure. I think everybody can look at it if you have any comments too, but I think the architect has accommodated the request of the council member with the adjustment. This was more done as an improvement next to the trail to, beautify the area and get some usefulness out of this. In no way do I think we ever contemplated that this would be anywhere someone's going to go away from a storm or anything like that. I know we want cover. If you were in Seattle and had a soft rain, it might help you there. But in one of our Kansas storms, this isn't going to provide any type of cover per se.
So is this different?
It provides.
Looks similar.
It provides more room for people to get under. It's not, a huge.
Yeah, the top-down view elevation.
That center one. Show.
It is hard to tell. I agree, but I did call on it there, and you can get under it, under this one.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate the compromise on this.
If I may, if you're looking at that view right there, you see the two darker shaded areas. Those are now the planter areas. In between that, you can go in between that. That'll be open. And that's the difference.
All the way under it.
Before, the planter ran around the whole perimeter, more or less. There wasn't an area to get in there. That was the major change.
In our packet, that is still there, by the way, on the first slide of
For the
this.
first one.
So it is a little confusing. Once you go to the first slide, it's still visible. But when you go down into it, of course, you can see where it's now just two, basically where the posts are. But you see what I mean? So that's why it was a little, challenging. But I believe this is what Caroline was shooting for in her request, and I think it matches what I was thinking too. So.
So,
What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Greg to approve the revised shade structure for Redbud Trail as presented. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, the employee insurance renewal. I'll let you take over. Evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rick Bynes. I'm with IMA. We're the employee benefits account executive, employee benefits consultant that works with the city of Andover. In regards to your guys' health, dental, vision, and ancillary lines of coverage that are offered to the city. My role with IMA is the unit leader of the employee benefits department. So I manage and oversee the 3 client service teams that take care of our employee benefits accounts. Vanessa Keith is the IMA strategic account executive that's assigned to the City of Andover account. And she'll be walking through our 2018 renewal discussion this evening. So I wanted to thank everybody for having us here today on the agenda this evening. And with that said, I will turn it over to Vanessa.
Thank you, Rick. Like Rick said, my name is Vanessa Keith. I am the account executive on the city's account with IMA. I will be going through the renewal recommendations for the March 1st, 2018 renewal this year. There is an executive overview of the items I will be reviewing today in your packet. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to go ahead and start with the medical. Right now, medical is with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas. That plan this year, Blue Cross Blue Shield offered a 14.2% renewal increase, which was a little higher than we would like to see. That renewal itself was due to higher than usual claims, primarily due to higher than usual claims from your entire population. There are also some high-cost claimants that are considered ongoing by Blue Cross, meaning they're high-cost claimants in 2017, and they're expecting them to be high-cost claimants again in 2018. A high-cost claimant is any claimant that has over $25,000 in paid claims for that plan year. Finally, prescription drug and medical trend is at 9% right now. That's your overall inflation cost for medical and prescription drug year over year. Those factors all basically built into that 14% renewal increase. We did approach Blue Cross Blue Shield's management team to see if they would provide any type of rate relief from that 14%, and unfortunately, due to those factors, they were unwilling to do so because it was so primarily due to your utilization by the employees this year. As you all know, historically, the benefits package has been very rich, and that is to help recruit and retain employees in your market space. It also is just basic part of your benefits culture overall. You also will remember in 2017, the council approved moving employee-only cost of premiums from nothing right now to a stair-step approach to make them equal to all other enrollment tiers, being employee spouse, employee child, and employee family at 15%. In 2018, employees will be paying now 5% of overall premium for employee-only cost. 2019, it'll move to 10, and by 2020, they will be equal to all other tiers at 15%. With that taken into consideration, the benefits team really wanted to maintain the benefits as much as possible to help absorb some of that shock factor for the employees. We did communicate this at open enrollment, but that was over a year ago. So employees will have a bit of a shock factor at open enrollment this year. With that being said, the recommendations to renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but there will be a bit of a benefit change. So we'll be moving from a single benefit offering that you have today to what you call a dual option, meaning 2 benefit plans will be offered. Right now, the plan you have in place will be offered. There will be 2 benefit changes to that plan, and they're both positive for your employees. The overall out-of-pocket maximum will move from $6,350 to $5,000, and then there will be an addition of a telemedicine benefit. Telemedicine allows employees and their family members that are on the plan to have access to a physician 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year at an office visit copay through an interaction via a video on your smart device, whether it be your phone, your tablet, or a computer. This is a great benefit add. We're really excited that Blue Cross has added this into their product offering because it gives people access to care that they wouldn't have. Like if they have a sick kid in the middle of the night, they would normally take them to the ER, and that's a high-cost place of treatment. So this offers a lower-cost alternative at an office visit copay, so it's a win-win for both the plan and your members. The second plan will be an option that mirrors your current plan with those 2 changes I mentioned with a higher deductible. So right now, your deductible is $500. The second plan offering will be $1,000. This is good because this allows your younger, healthier population to have the ability to choose a plan that might fit their healthcare needs a little better. It also will allow the city the ability to, in the future, be a little more strategic around benefit changes if they have to be made in the future because of an increase like this in the future. With the trends of the employees' enrollment, we can start seeing what employees are valuing within your healthcare. With that being said, all of those factors I just mentioned, I wanted to also mention that your benefits that are being offered in this proposal, as well as the premiums, are still lower than market benchmarks, whether that be nationally or even in the Midwest. So even offering a deductible that is double what you have now is still a fairly rich benefit offering in the market. Finally, on the medical plan, there will continue to be a tobacco surcharge. This is, with your wellness committee, a very, very important piece of the health plan. They want to help employees, if they would like, remove that tobacco use from their life. Right now, it's a 5% surcharge, so employees that are tobacco users pay 5% more in premiums than employees that are non-tobacco users. The proposal is to maintain that 5% difference. Moving on to the dental. Right now, your dental plan is with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas as well. That plan received an 8.4% increase. Again, very high utilization this year. Everybody decided to use the plans in 1 year, unfortunately. The alternative plans in the market, and we've talked about this before, have a bit of a benefit reduction on some of the provisions in the dental plan, and the network works very well with Blue Cross for your employees. That, in conjunction with the fact that the benefits team really wants to try to maintain the benefits as much as they possibly can because of the premium impact on employees on medical, provides a recommendation to renew with Blue Cross on the dental plan with no changes. This also allows your employees to maintain one singular card for medical and dental, which is always nice for employees because it eases confusion. It also allows your benefits team that administers the plans here at the city to have one singular billing system and enrollment system that they work with for the medical and the dental. Finally, on the vision, Emeritus is the vision carrier right now. They supplied an 8.3% increase. Again, 8%, but these dollars are small dollars. Overall, the annual increase is under $650 annually. The recommendation is to renew that line of coverage as well to maintain that benefit because it is working for your employees from a network and benefit perspective, and it is a low overall impact from a bottom dollar perspective. You also have multiple lines of coverage in what we call a rate guarantee. A rate guarantee is when you have rates that you renew with or that you move to a carrier with, and they stay in place for a certain number of years. Right now, your group term life, accidental death and dismemberment, short-term disability, long-term disability, voluntary life, and voluntary accidental death and dismemberment with Lincoln Financial are all in a rate guarantee until March 1st, 2019. Your police and fire short-term disability with the standard is in a rate guarantee until June 1st, 2019. And your flexible spending account and dependent care account administration through Discovery Benefits is in a rate guarantee until March 1st, 2019. In discussing with the benefits team here at the city, employees are happy with these lines of coverage. Internally, they're happy with the administrators and the carriers. So recommendation is to maintain those carriers at least until that rate guarantee is completed in 2019. So, as a summary for recommendations, the recommendation for medical is to renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield with some benefit changes and begin offering a dual plan offering. Renew the dental with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas with the current plan. Renew the vision with Emeritus with the current plan. And again, maintain those products that are in rate guarantees until the end of that rate guarantee for your ancillary and your flexible spending account administration. In 2019, we do have some initiatives that we would like to start, mainly around employee communication. We want to educate employees on lower cost care. So, like I said, using telemedicine now that it's available instead of going to the ER when your kid is sick in the middle of the night. That's a lower cost alternative to care for both them and the plan. So helping them understand that being consumers helps overall premium cost is a goal for us this next year in education for the employees. We also want to, in 2018, evaluate the claims utilization to ensure it's not continuing with the negative trend that it had this year. If it does, we will do at that point a due diligence marketing to ensure there's nothing better in the market that fits the needs of the city. We will continue to evaluate spousal surcharge. Spousal surcharge is something that we've looked at every year. We looked at it again this year. We decided it was not a good fit for the culture and the goals of the team this year. Again, spousal surcharge is an additional charge for employees and payroll deduction if the employee's spouse that is enrolled has access to care via their employer's health coverage. That's what that spousal surcharge piece is. We looked at it again this year. It wasn't something that fit the needs this year, but we will continue to look at that because it is a growing market trend. Moving the employees to 5% this year for payroll deduction, and in 2019, they will be moving to 10%. We'll continue to evaluate Blue Cross's ASO model, meaning partially self-funded, which will ultimately give the city more control over their healthcare costs and their plans. Unfortunately, those numbers, the risk versus reward within those financials still isn't there, but we will continue to evaluate that piece. And then we'll continue to review the potential impact of the Affordable Care Act's Cadillac tax, which is still a piece of the legislation to go into effect in 2020. It has not been changed at all with all of the political pieces that are in the market right now. So that will be something we will continue to review for 2020. That is the summary of the recommendations. Do you guys have any questions that we can answer while we're here?
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely.
I just had a question about the additional high deductible insurance that you're adding that option. And because we have the flexible spending for the employees, are the employees able to get a health savings account?
Not yet. So health savings accounts require a specific type of plan model. And that is because flexible spending accounts you can carry over up to $500. Health savings accounts, you can maintain those dollars until you use them. They are wonderful. They're like medical 401ks. Unfortunately, the benefit plans are structured very differently than the benefit plans you have right now. So it requires what you call a high deductible health plan. A high deductible health plan has a deductible that is obviously higher, but it also requires that there cannot be first dollar coverage outside of the 100% preventive care provisions within the Affordable Care Act. First dollar coverage is going to be your office visit copays, your drug card copays. Those would all apply to that higher deductible instead of having some sort of copay to assist in the coverage. This year, the goal was to start having a model where you offer more than one plan offering. And that way employees get to know how to elect coverage that meets their needs through payroll deduction versus risk. I think down the road that will definitely be something that is continued to be discussed, because that's really where you get into premium savings, is through those qualified high deductible health plans. This year it just wasn't the right fit for the goals of the benefits team.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question, and I'm not sure that I fully understand this, but
Okay.
my understanding is that you all have increased the employee responsibility from 5% to 10% of the premiums?
That's 2019. So the city right now, for employee-only coverage, so you have 4 tiers of enrollment. And they can either cover themselves as employee-only, they can cover themselves and a spouse as an employee spouse, they can cover themselves and their children with employee children, or they can cover their entire family.
Well,
Right now,
I heard, okay, maybe I need to address this to the mayor.
okay.
What did you say that we all have agreed? Is there a cap that we've agreed to?
We did. We had a workshop meeting 6 months ago, maybe, sometime in the summer, when we discussed this very thing. And rather than hit the employees with a one-time 15% increase in the portion that they pay, we decided to phase it in. And we decided 5% per year for the next 3 years. And that was simply to provide some equity, I believe, from what our other employees, depending on what plan they had. But we felt it necessary that the employees paid a certain portion of their benefits.
Yeah, I recall what I thought were meetings where we agreed to the 5% last year. I didn't know that we had agreed to 15%. And I understand the phase-in type of thing, but I'm assuming that agreement and the police and fire and all the other employees understand that. Jenny, is that a fair statement?
Yes, we've been communicating that singles will pay 5% in 18, they'll pay 10% in 19, and they'll pay 15% in 20. So, and 15% is what all other employees for all other plans pay. So, and then at that
what
point,
is it that we've agreed to have the employees pay 15% of premiums?
ultimately. So we agreed to ultimately level the playing field, so all plans cost 15% to employees, and that for singles who have previously not paid, that would be phased in over a 3-year period, starting in 2018 with the March 1st renewal.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we do intend to continue to communicate that during open enrollment meetings and for new hires, so they understand that that is coming. It's part of our benefit guide that we supply.
That was the equity conversation we had between employees with families or spouses versus singles.
I recall all that.
Very
And
spirited
there's
discussion.
there's no reason to go into all the reasons pro and con, but we have an agreement as of now that it's a total of 15% eventually.
This renewal includes 5%.
Well, this would be 10% as of this time around?
March 1st, so as of like today, singles are still not paying anything. As of March 1st, because our renewal is a weird time, it's March 1st. So March 1st of 18 through February 28th of 19, they will pay 5%. And then March 1st of 19 through the end of February 2020, they'll pay 10. And then March 1st, 2020 through February 2021,
started
be
yet.
15. So we've been using this time to educate and communicate to employees, but it'll go into effect for the first time March.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the insurance renewals with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas and Emeritus as presented tonight and authorize the mayor to sign such agreements.
Second.
A motion by Chris and a second by Greg to approve the renewals as presented. Further discussion. What did we factor in for insurance premiums this year?
This year, we did 15%.
You factored it in?
Yeah, we do that every year to give ourselves the flexibility. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to do this every year, but we do try to give ourselves the flexibility. One more thing I just want to mention is in our past 4 years, our premiums 3 or 4 years ago decreased, and then they've just gone up 3 or 4%. So this is the first time in a while we've had this type of increase.
I think we're seeing this industry-wide.
Absolutely.
The premiums are starting to ratchet up, but this year being exceptionally higher, but this is not the highest rate or increase this city's ever seen. All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate your business. Look forward to working with you.
All right, item 13, the KMIT Workman's Comp.
I don't know if Jenny or I want to talk about this, but we got our renewal on our workers' comp, and Jenny can describe more about that process. But I just wanted to quickly mention that we did have our broker who does our property and casualty take a look at other options this year. And while EMC was a little cheaper, it wasn't significant enough yet to stop. But we'll continue to compare those prices. We're getting to be one of the bigger people in this pool, and I just think it's appropriate that we continue to look at our options.
And I think basically all I would say in addition is we did technically decrease this year's premium from last year, so that's good news on the heels of the last item you just approved. But it is an excellent point that we did go out and get that quote, and we do intend to share that very competitive quote with KMIT and just let them know that it's not a lock that we would necessarily always be in this pool.
Are we rated? Are we rated like other companies get rated their employee pools?
I don't
With a modifier?
believe so.
Yeah, each department has a modifier.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the organization
and,
as a whole.
And, you know, my concern about KMET is that it's just not our department that's the modifiers based on. If there's an event in some small town in a fire department in western Kansas, that gets passed on to everybody. Now, you go out by yourself, then you're taking all the risk yourself too, so.
Well, but, so we don't have a modification rating on ourselves.
Well, no, not specifically on us, I do not believe. I think they do a modifier on each, for each city. You know, there's probably some variations, but not specifically for us. I saw that our fire went up significantly a few years ago, and we haven't had a work comp claim in fire.
Somebody had a work comp claim.
Right, you got it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Our mod for this year is 0.97, and those of you that you are very familiar with that, it is getting awfully close to that 1.0, which we've been more in the 80s in the past. So that's.
You know, by ourselves, considering our claim history, I think it's worth discussing next year and looking at going alone, because I think our mod, with no claims, it's got to go down. I mean, 0.89, 0.9, somewhere in there. Or even lower, perhaps. It might save us some money. I understand we're spreading the risk here, though, so.
And I guess I would say finally, too, this has been an unfortunate year. I guess we're just having an unhealthy year because we had an unhealthy year in the health insurance claims. And then we've had more accidents at work than we have in the last several years as well. So, we're aware of that. The safety committee is working hard to rectify that and really try to educate. But being very honest with you, it was not our best year with work comp claims either.
But you're recommending the renewal with KMET, right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody would so be inclined to make that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to renew workman's compensation insurance with KMET for 2018.
Second.
Motion by Greg, second by Sherry to renew the compensation insurance with KMET for 2018 as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, public work job descriptions.
I'll take this one too. Before you are a couple Public Works revised job descriptions. You may be aware, I'm sure you are, that we've had a couple vacancies in the last few months. And so we took the opportunity to try to think strategically about how we might realign the job requirements for each of these positions to get the best use for our Public Works departments. And so before you tonight are some job descriptions that have gone through your city engineer, your public works director, your assistant public works director, myself, and the city administrator. And we think we have a couple good job descriptions here for you to approve tonight. If you approve them, we will advertise this week, begin advertising with the hopes of having somebody in both of those positions by the end of January, early February at the latest. Rick would really like that sooner rather than later.
Questions?
I have one question.
Shoot.
Rick, you're good with the stormwater GIS planning technician one?
Yes, I am.
Motions.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Chris to approve the revised job descriptions for Public Works as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, market research.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as you recall, we've talked extensively about partnering in some way with the YMCA and the school district and trying to figure out what the patrons of the city and USD 385 have in terms of preference on recreation. You'll recall that my initial idea was I just wanted to figure out where a lot of our patrons and citizens were going to get Little League baseball, softball, soccer. I know a lot are leaving the city, and the idea is there any interest in looking at facilities within Andover so people don't have to drive all the way across town for these various competitive sports? But this is also turned into a partnership where the school district would like to ask citizens about the use of the tennis complex that's going to be built year-round, the use of the indoor swimming pool that's going to be built year-round. Additionally, we have some questions about the library and by possible expansion of hours there, if there's any preference there. We're asking questions about the amphitheater. We're asking questions about where people go to get arts and cultural services. So I think we have a pretty broad survey of our citizens, and we're putting recreation in a rather broad category here, which I think is appropriate. And we just want to see what type of interest we have and what are the things that the three of our organizations can cooperate on in order to serve our citizens better. I will say this group, Triangle 2, is a group that the YMCA is familiar working with. I've kind of yielded to them in terms of who we would use as this type of market research, because obviously they have a lot more experience than the city of Andover does in researching recreational needs. However, we will be extensively involved in the development of this survey. I think I put an example of the survey in your packet. I don't know if the link worked for you or not, but you can see the questions we're already building as a foundation. I would like to go way beyond that. I think there's some more questions that need to be probed in there. But I think this, our $10,000 contribution is a great investment for us to get an idea of what we want to do in the future. Because if we're looking at spending an extensive amount of money, I think we should know first what our citizens want in respect to this.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have one. I really think this is an excellent idea to research. And when I click on the proposed draft, Mark, I think the questions are good. But the first question says, I'm calling to ask you a few questions. Is it going to be a landline call? Because I don't think that would be very good.
Well, I guess I can ask him about that. I think the problem with sending out, in my view, but this is what the survey person says. The problem with sending out a survey is you can't always rely upon that. The other thing is we want to get a representative sample of everybody in the community. The problem with surveys sometimes is you get one demographic that responds heavily, but we need to get all demographics in this. And I think they feel like selected people in a landline call trying to break up the demographics is the way we should go about this. I think they were looking at a sample size of about 600 people, which is a pretty representative sample considering, our school district probably, expands across 25,000 people. That's, a pretty good sample size for that type of population. I certainly would be willing to have anybody make suggestions on it, but, I think the idea of trying to call individuals and get a hold of them, and then they're going then I don't want to go way into a statistical analysis because I know you'll know more about it than I do, but when they fill up on that demographic, they stop calling those people and then look for the next demographic.
Okay.
They want to have equal representation for each demographic in the survey.
I think you're right. If you have a landline, you're probably going to get somebody older.
Right, and if you answer the landline between 5 and 8, then you're not doing any activities, so you're at home. That's my only concern is that, most of my neighbors are disconnecting their landlines, and I just want to get, I really like this market research, but I know Triangle Solutions is a professional firm, and they have certainly thought of this, but I wonder if the schools and the YMCA couldn't do some on-site surveying, but that might be biased, I don't know.
Well, I think the other thing that if you can get cell phone numbers, which again, that's data that the school district or somebody else is going to have to agree to give out. But that's what most polling firms are doing now is they're trying to hit cell phones, and you do have access. Now, I can ask them, can we try to figure that out?
As long as they've done something like this before and can think of that, because I think people are unhooking their landlines.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's all. But the questions were very good, so I think this is good.
And I had the same question that Chris had, and saying that the cell phones, additionally, if they do call cell phones, many people will not answer their cell phones if it's not a recognized number. So, that is one.
Sure, they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, and then one clarification, so that would be 10,000 from each, the school district, the YMCA, and us?
Correct. That's my understanding that everybody's agreeing to that. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, we won't go forth, but that the commitment has been made by the superintendent and the director of the Wichita area YMCA to such.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the City of Andover's participation in the recreation study as presented for $5,000 this year's budget and $5,000 next year's budget, and authorize the city administrator to sign all agreements associated with the survey.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Greg to approve the participation here in the research as presented. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16. Jenny, I'll let you handle this one.
Okay. You may recall a few meetings ago, we came to you with an RFP to release to try to get a media promotions partner for this year's summer concert series. Mr. Tabor and the mayor served on a committee. We reviewed the responses that came in and felt that the interest by the respondents was more in selling advertising than true partnering in concert planning. That even those that had been involved in planning in the past were more interested in an advisory type role. And just to be honest, it didn't feel like we were going to get the value we were looking for out of these partnerships, that we can seek other ways to do advertising and promotion, whether that's purchasing it on our own, going through a third-party vendor of some kind, whether that's an ad agency, however that may look, that there's other ways we can go about the promotion piece of this. We did add a position, as you're all very well aware, with the event planner. So we do, for the first time, have a full-time staff person who's concentrated on the amphitheater and those events. And so we would like to go it alone for now and figure it out. And if we need to come back and rethink that strategy, we will. But we would like to officially reject all proposals that were submitted. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we've ever had a motion to reject everything. That's great.
Be the first.
They were, like Jenny said, they were strictly interested in selling us advertising.
Yeah, I agree.
And if we're buying advertising, which we're going to, that's included in every concert budget. That's a budget line item. We'll just buy it on ourselves. I mean, you know what I mean? And that way we can actually spread the money around depending on what type of concert we have, with a rock station, with a country station, with a, other genres of music. We could promote it.
Better.
Yeah, we could promote it in specific places that make
Make
sense.
more sense.
So, I concur. We need to reject all of these. There's no point in signing anything.
And one other thing I'll remind you that I had forgotten, part of our agreement with Capital Federal is that they will wrap a Wichita City bus in an advertisement for the amphitheater at the beginning of 2018, and it will stay in effect as long as our relationship is in effect. So that will be a major addition in terms of our advertising and promotion that we have not done in the past. So we are trying some new things, and we are going to continue to work on more creative approaches. So don't think we're just not going to advertise the event.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to reject all proposals submitted for the 2018 media promotion and planning partners for the Capital Federal Amphitheater.
Second.
All right, motion by Sherry, second by Chris to reject all the proposals. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, as we come to a close, and I apologize, I had a huge speech written out for both of you, but I can barely talk, but I want to show a little bit of appreciation for Councilmember Geisler and Chris here to my right. Longtime city council members, this is their last meeting this evening, so stick around if you have a few minutes, and we'll visit and cuss and discuss and kick them out the door when we're done. You want to start us off, Troy?
Sure. First of all, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be on this council with these two, and it's very sad to see them leave. It's in addition to being here for a long time, they're both exceptionally smart people with pretty amazing backgrounds, and while they'll be replaced with some other smart people too, it's still just kind of sad to see them go. Outside of that, then obviously Merry Christmas for those in the last yesterday. I hope everybody had a good time that celebrates Christmas, and have a happy new year and a safe one, and don't stay out too late that night. And that's all I have tonight.
We're skipping you, Sherry. See you.
I certainly concur with Troy's comments that we've had a very excellent bench with a minimal of disagreements, but when they were in good faith. And I wish both of you all the very best as we proceed.
Thank you.
Greg?
Yes, and I want to wish them the best, whatever they decide to do next with their free time. But it's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish the best.
Thank you. Very nice.
Chris?
Well, thank you very much for those kind words. I would just like to say it's been an honor to serve the city in this capacity the last 5.5 years, and I think I have learned and grown so much in this position, and I feel a tremendous amount of respect for all of the city employees and the staff and everyone that worked so hard to make Andover the great community that it is. So I appreciate your forgiveness when I mess up things and when I learn and have new ideas, and this community has been so receiving of change and new ideas, and yet sticking to our core values. And I hope that we continue to grow and prosper. And I greatly want to thank the mayor and council for appointing me to a position that came vacant in 2012. And then I enjoyed it so much. I gave it a run, and I do think it's wonderful. It's helped me grow as a person, and really appreciate just not even how much money we've spent here tonight, but what we're doing for the city and what the employees do. And if there weren't good employees, we couldn't do all this. So I want to say thanks to all of you. Thank you.
Well, Sherry, I'll give you the last word here. I don't normally like to do that with anybody, but longstanding council member here, you were what? I think, actually, did Dennis Bush appoint you?
I was just thinking about that today. It's like, okay,
Long
I've been
time ago. I was
2
on-
mayors,
Right.
okay, 3 city administrators, 2 city attorneys.
I think I was there when Dennis appointed you.
You
I
were,
was a
you were on the
city
council. You were on the council. I was on
member.
planning.
You've run a lot of times, though.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's been a ride. I know, like CR says, we don't always all agree on everything, but it's always been good, clean-natured arguments, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
This is your time to tell us what you think of us.
Well, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to serve the community that, I feel very strongly about. And I've worked with some wonderful people and different council members, and even in times that we did have challenges, it was a fair representation of our community. That's what I would always say with Sasha, when she'd get frustrated with whatever. It's like, but it's a fair representation of our community, how it comes about. So local government is good. I've had the privilege to work with wonderful staff and employees and have learned so much. And I just want to guarantee everyone that the city of Andover is very professional, and they are looking out for their citizens. And I couldn't be more proud. And, well, Ben, you've been a fantastic mayor. I wish you could just keep going and going and going. But, it's been wonderful, enjoyable, and thank you, everyone.
Well, like I said, stick around after the meeting if you have a few minutes. You two, hopefully, stick around a little bit. I always have a need for committee members and different things like that. For all your expertise. If you have a little bit extra time, we'll give you your break for now, so we'll come back to it. That's all we have this evening. Let's end this meeting.
Well,
Make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead, Sherry. You do it. I want you to. Close us out.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Sherry, second by Chris. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Ta-da.